know what a buy nothing group is, I'm here to blow your mind. Hey guys, my name's Kelly. If you've been here a while, you probably know from the title that I actually made a video with this topic about 4 or 5 years ago, and that was when I was posting to YouTube like twice a year. But I wanted to go ahead and refilm this video with some new tips, things that I've learned over the years of trying to be more conscious about what I'm consuming, trying to be more sustainable, and trying to save money everywhere that I can. And if you're new, you may be wondering, how does saving money and making money relate to my other content of primarily thrifting and sewing related stuff? And to that I have to say that for me, thrifting and sewing are the two ways that I've built a sustainable wardrobe on a budget. And so saving money is so related to those things because that's why I sew and that's why I thrift. But more than that, I'm trying to be sustainable. And so all of these tips will be very sustainable tips and things that anyone can do. And like I said, I hope that I give some tips that you've never heard. I think I will. And if there's a tip that you're really excited about or something you definitely hadn't heard before, I would love to hear that below. And if you have tips that I didn't mention, please leave them because I and everyone watching this, I'm sure, will appreciate them. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I hope you enjoy, and let's get going. So my first tip would be to adopt principles of minimalism into your life. I think that minimalism is really misunderstood, and we think of people, living with 30 belongings out of a backpack, traveling nomads, or people living in really nice houses that are crisp and white and don't have many belongings and don't really decorate. We see these images in our mind of what we think minimalism is, or we see people who are, branding themselves as minimalists and how they're living, and we think that minimalism has to look like that. And to that I have to say that minimalism is really a personal journey, and it looks different for everyone. So the way you live will really depend on what your hobbies are, what your values are, and what minimalism means to you, and no one else can define minimalism for you. So really, I think the main principles of minimalism that everyone should adopt are being conscious about what you're consuming and only bringing things into your home if they'll bring you value or joy, and reevaluating often what you own and whether or not you should continue owning something. So if something isn't serving you anymore, don't keep it. Unless it's something that you know that you're going to need in a few months or something like that, that obviously is different. But if something is, you're not using it, it's not bringing you value, it's stressing you out or taking up space, then get rid of it. And then also, I think sustainability and minimalism go hand in hand a lot of the time, and I think sustainability, being sustainable, is something that some people think isn't attainable on a budget, and so I'm here to tell you that it is, and some ways that you can apply those things. So the first tip I have is to shop secondhand, and this is obviously something you probably expected to hear, something you've probably heard before, but I want to give some tips that you probably haven't heard. So my main tip would be to think outside the box. Pretty much everyone has a Goodwill or a Savers or a Salvation Army near them, but sometimes those hole-in-the-wall places actually have way better stuff and way better prices. So try to look for thrift stores that are in smaller towns that are like locally owned, like church thrift stores or nonprofit thrift stores. A lot of the times they'll have better prices, and they're usually less frequented than the big name places like Goodwill and Savers, and you can find some really amazing things for not a lot of money. My other tip would be willing to dig, be willing to look around. A lot of the times you have to go through 99% bad stuff to find the gems, but if you're looking at spending, $10 on a new piece of clothing, and it's either buying it from Forever 21 or Rue 21 or someplace like that, or spending $10 at a thrift store, $10 may sound like a lot for one article of clothing, but if you're buying something that would normally be like $300 or $100, if it was new, then obviously you're getting a better quality product than you would be getting if you spent the $10 at Walmart, and you're going to have something that's going to last a lot longer. Another thing would be to look into some alternative versions of secondhand and look into buy nothing groups. If you don't know what a buy nothing group is, I'm here to blow your mind because it blew my mind. Buy nothing groups, and sometimes they have other names as well, so just look around in your community, check out on Facebook, ask your friends, find what is in your community. Sometimes there's more than one. But buy nothing groups are groups on Facebook where you can either ask for things that you're needing or gift things that you'd like to give away. And these groups are amazing because there's no money exchange, there's no trading, there's no, anything like that. It's just giving things away or receiving things. And they're great because it's not just physical goods. So what you can do if you're in need of something, you can ask on there, hey, does someone have a full-length mirror that they're getting rid of? Does someone have a lawnmower that they could come mow my lawn because my lawnmower broke and I have a sprained ankle and, you know, whatever it may be. Someone could come do that for you. You could ask for someone to pick up your groceries. If you've already ordered your groceries, you paid for them and everything, you just need someone to go pick them up and bring them to your house. You could ask for that. I've seen people ask for someone to buy them a coffee and bring it to them, and they've done that. So you can really ask for anything. You know, sometimes it may seem kind of silly, but the things that people ask for can be really creative, and it's so cool to see what other people in your community are willing to do for you. My other tip related to buy nothing groups would be to think about your hobbies or think about things you've been wanting to try. I'm going to talk specifically about sewing because that is something that I do and something that I'm in the world of, and I hear a lot of feedback related to that, but this can apply to any hobby. So I hear a lot of people say, I want to start sewing, but it's so expensive to start, I can't afford a machine, and, you know, I don't want to invest a bunch of money if I end up hating it. And that's where buy nothing groups are great because there's probably someone, probably more than one person in your community with a sewing machine in their basement or their attic or back in a closet somewhere that they're not using that isn't bringing them any value and that they wouldn't mind getting rid of. So you can go on your buy nothing group and ask, does anyone have a sewing machine they're getting rid of? And, you know, you may get an older one that you have to do a little more research on to figure out how to work it or something like that, but the internet is a great resource for figuring those things out, and I pretty much can guarantee you, you can figure it out if you just take a little bit of time. And if it's something you want to learn, but you don't want to shell out $100 on a machine, because even cheap machines cost about that much, you can, you know, take an hour more of your time to learn how to use it, and, or even maybe a little bit more, but you're saving that money, and so really what's worth it to you? Would you rather save the money or would you rather save the time? Another tip that I have related to buy nothing groups is that if you're someone who is reevaluating what you own and you're someone who is wanting to get rid of stuff and you're not wanting to take the time to take it to a thrift store, or you can't take the time, or if it's just an extra stressor for you, you can offer things up on the buy nothing group and ask people to come pick them up. So you can say, you know, offer something up, someone will say, hey, I'm interested, can I come get that from you? And then you'll, you know, message them and say, this is my address, it's out on my porch, you can come get it, you know, done deal. They just come pick it up and you don't have to deal with anybody, you don't have to go drive somewhere to drop it off. This is great for stay-at-home moms who don't want to have to pack their kids up in the car. It's great if you don't have a vehicle at the moment, or if your car's in the shop or something like that, or if you're just someone who only has a bike and you don't want to have to borrow a car just to take a bag of stuff somewhere else. Also good for getting rid of large quantities of things, because if you're getting rid of a lot of clothes, you could just say, hey, I'm offering up a bag of women's clothing between sizes small and medium, and I'd like it if you could take the whole lot, and then whatever you don't want, you can re-gift to someone else. So those are great ways to do that. So buy nothing groups are great for free stuff, but another way you can buy stuff secondhand would be through apps like Poshmark, Mercari, and Depop. I could be wrong, but I think Depop is just for clothing. But on Mercari, you can sell anything. And on Poshmark, you can sell apparel items, accessories, and home goods. These apps are amazing because if you've seen something that you're interested in on a website like Zara, or, you know, if you were walking through the mall because you, like, I had to get an eye exam the other day. I don't shop at the mall, but I had to get an eye exam the other day, and I went to the eye place in the mall. And, you know, let's say I was walking past a store and I saw a sweater that I really loved. What I could do is I could go on their website, find out what the name of that sweater is, and I could search that on Poshmark, and I could usually find it. Most times, if we're talking about a really mainstream common store, you can almost always find what you're looking for on Poshmark or Depop or Mercari. And one, you can usually save money, and two, it's much more sustainable, because if you're like me, you don't want to support that fast fashion brand or that unsustainable brand, but you might not mind buying the thing secondhand because you know it's a brand that generally holds up pretty well and lasts a while. So it's still a good investment of your money, but you just don't want to directly support them. And so you can buy it cheaper secondhand, and you can also avoid supporting that big company. And that's a great way to shop if you still want to buy things that are kind of trendy and not support the company directly, like I said. But it's also great for if you're just looking for really specific things. You can use these apps. It doesn't have to be a specific thing from a specific brand, but you could search like black mock neck, turtleneck, and you have options there. Whereas if you're going to a thrift store, it may take longer to find what you're looking for. So those are some great apps to check out. I will link them below. And that's about all I have to say about secondhand shopping. I think that most of what else I would say you've probably heard before. So now I just want to talk about like using what you have, getting creative with things you already own. If we're talking about clothing, when one thing you could do is, if you're learning how to sew, you could refashion your clothes. There are some great YouTube channels that do refashions, like April from the channel Cool Urpa, with Wendy, Annika Victoria. I plan to do some refashion related, like thrift flip videos in the future as well. And there's so many other great channels out there doing things like that. Oh, Well Loved Clothing. I'll link her too. And then you could do even more than sewing. You don't have to completely refashion what you own, but you could like do some embroidery on a plain t-shirt you have or a pair of jeans. You could paint your clothing. You could learn how to block print, because while you need some supplies for block printing, it's not that much of a monetary investment right off the bat. And I will be doing videos about that soon too, so I'm really excited. And then if we're talking about home goods or, you know, other things in your home besides clothing, I've seen a lot of people lately doing like pantry reorganization videos, and a lot of the times they're decanting their pantry stuff into new containers. Well, instead of going and buying a ton of jars and spending like $50 on jars to organize your whole pantry, what if you waited longer to do your pantry organization, but you saved up jars from products you're already buying? So like larger pickle jars or smaller pasta sauce jars, you could save them all up over time. Maybe spend $5 to buy a bottle of Goo Gone and use some elbow grease and use a little bit more of your time to clean them up. But you can get some cool looking jars in all different sizes, save them up, and then organize your pantry into those, which is using jars from a product you're already buying. So just get creative. I mean, reusing jars, that's such a simple tip. That's something grandmas across the world have been doing for centuries. And, you know, just because we can go out and buy new things really easily doesn't necessarily mean that we should, especially if you're trying to save money. So that's about all I have to say on that for today. Like I said, if you have any tips that I didn't mention, I really would love to hear them below. I am always looking for new ways to save and make money. I didn't even mention reselling your own stuff, I don't think, on Poshmark. But yes, that is absolutely part of the point I was trying to make with that, is you can resell your own things. And that's one way to make money. So I hope that this video brought value to your life. I hope that you enjoyed it. And like I said, I would love to hear your thoughts below. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.